Fabian Urbino Morales, one of Mexico's most infamous hitmen, left an indescribable trail of fear during his career with the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, considered the most dangerous drug trafficking organization in Latin America. But how did someone whose job was to assault and inflict suffering on people for a cartel come to be known as El Payaso, the Clown? Keep reading to discover the gruesome truth of how Fabian El Payaso Morales earned his macabre reputation, and why his style of aggression could mark the beginning of an era in Mexico's drug trafficking wars, the Clown and the Jaguar.
We don't know much about the killer they call El Payaso. We don't know where he was born or what kind of child he was, but that's irrelevant. The way El Payaso decided to end his life of freedom at the age of 37 says it all. At the time of his arrest in 2020, Fabian Urbino Morales had risen through the ranks of one of Mexico's most powerful drug cartels, the CJNG, or Jalisco New Generation Cartel. He had been promoted to the position of commander in the areas of control of the Aguililla territory of the CJNG, and he was directly fighting for the leader of the Aguililla Plaza, a man known only as El Amidos, as the commander of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. El Payaso would have been responsible for organizing ambushes, raids, and total assaults on rival gangs. But his work didn't end there. In fact, as we'll discover a bit later in the video, El Payaso's specialties were retention and suffering. Of course, one doesn't suddenly become a paramilitary commander of the country's most feared criminal organization, right? Morales' narco career had to start somewhere, and with his dark comedy, the story of Morales' origin begins at the circus. Most people flee a life of hardships to join the circus, but not El Payaso. He did things in reverse, working full-time as a circus clown, performing tricks and acrobatics for the amusement of the wandering public. Fabian's brother, named El Jaguar, was busy gaining ground in the military wing of the Gulf cartel Los Metros as they fought to maintain control of Reynosa. We don't know if Fabian left the circus to protect his younger brother or because he felt jealous of the money El Jaguar was making as a narco. In any case, we know that at some point, Fabian, the circus artist, decided to turn to the dark side and joined his brother in the ranks of Los Metros. When Los Metros fell under the control of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel in the early 90s, El Payaso, the joking hitman, caught the attention of the formidable leader of the CJNG, a capo with $1 million bounty on his head, known by enemies and allies alike as El Mencho. Fabian Urbino Morales honed his skills in Los Metros, but it was in the Jalisco New Generation Cartel where he became famous as the sadistic killer clown. But where does this cartel come from, and why, in just 14 years of existence, has it managed to become the most powerful and dangerous group in Mexico? The Jalisco New Generation Cartel was founded in 2009 by Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, a former farmer nicknamed El Mencho. Born in 1966, the son of a poor avocado farmer, El Mencho struggled for a while to escape poverty, illegally immigrating to California in the 80s in search of work. However, nothing El Mencho tried seemed to work until he used his family's avocado business to start exporting more than just fruit. As a junior drug trafficker, Cervantes joined the Millennium Cartel. When it crumbled amid brutal internal struggles, El Mencho decided to show some initiative. 6 months after forming the CJNG, El Mencho had expanded the operations of his new gang from coast to coast, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, and by 2012 he had earned recognition as the cartel with the greatest operational capacity in all of Mexico. However, unlike La Jafa and Edina Arellano Felix, who used diplomacy and communication to control and expand the Tijuana cartel, El Mencho relied on one thing, and only one thing, to improve the position of the CJNG. You're probably thinking, isn't aggression what all cartels use to control their territory? And of course, you would be right. From the Beltran-Leyva brothers, who roasted their victims on bonfires, to the infamous Soup Man, who dissolved up to 1,000 people in acid vats. The hostility employed by cartels is well known. But let me make this point clear. Even these insane acts of evil can barely compare to what the Jalisco New Generation Cartel is capable of doing. El Mencho operates less like the CEO of an international export organization and more like a general during a civil war, deploying troops on the streets of his homeland. And by troops, I mean troops. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel is effectively an army. Watching some of the videos they post of their convoys, you'd be forgiven for mistaking them for members of the Mexican Armed Forces. I know I did. In tank convoys, CJNG soldiers can be seen wielding heavy machine guns alongside their pistols and even rocket-propelled grenade launchers that they use to bring down army helicopters. The men behind the artillery are equally important because El Mencho has been adamant about recruiting the wildest, bloodthirsty, and unhinged killers he could find. In fact, the initiation of new killers in the Jalisco New Generation Cartel has involved the cannibalization of members of rival gangs. We can imagine, coincidentally, that this is how El Mencho might have first met our own killer clown, Fabian Urbino Morales. I Want Water, viral hostility, and the arrest of Fabian Urbino Morales. I warn you that what we're going to discuss is not for the faint-hearted. A few years before Morales' arrest, a video titled "I Want Water" appeared on Twitter. The video showed the face of a victim of the Jalisco cartel's retention. The man, whose identity is unknown, had already survived hours of agony when the video begins, and he is barely recognizable as a human. His tormentors, among whom was El Payaso and his band of psychopaths with clown masks, had literally ripped the skin from the face of their victim, leaving nothing. The gore in this video is severely disturbing, and we urge you not to look for it. Investigate so you don't have to. Watching videos like this only damages your mental health and, believe me, your opinion of what humans are capable of. However, it's not the blood and wounds that make I Want Water truly unsettling. It's the way El Payaso and his henchmen mock their victims that truly sends shivers down your spine. "Do you want water?" they ask the faceless man with a panting and excited voice. "I want water," he responds with a sigh, his voice like that of death itself, and then an inhuman laughter. I Want Water and similar videos are a fundamental part of a new style of hostility between rival drug trafficking gangs in Mexico. If you combine the fact that Mexico's Generation Z and millennials have often been born in dangerous environments with the introduction of smartphone cameras and social media, you get a recipe for disaster. More specifically, this new era of aggression without compassion and media infamy doesn't end with El Payaso, but it begins with him. Fortunately, he no longer roams free. In October 2019, he and other CJNG soldiers planned an ambush on local police authorities that left 13 officers dead. In retaliation, the Mexican police launched a massive operation against the cartel in January 2020, with the goal of apprehending those responsible for the October attack. This time, the CJNG wouldn't be as fortunate. One of their commanders, La Catrina, was injured, and it led to her demise. Another commander, El Payaso, was arrested. At the time of writing these lines, El Payaso is still behind bars, slowly wasting away his life. These are good news, of course, for the Mexican citizens. However, the bad news is that, with a masked clown locked up, it remains to be seen which maniac will take up his enormous place. Thank you very much for watching our video about El Payaso, the killer clown of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to not miss any detail. Until soon.